Good morning or afternoon, depending on your time zone. Thanks for joining the CPRN Investigator call. This is Paul Gross. So our main topic today is to get a demonstration from Garey Noritz of sort of the clinician side of working with EPIC forms. But before we do that, I just want to cover a couple of status areas of things that we've been talking about, just to let people know where we are. So we talked on our last investigator call about surgical disparities. There's a program announcement from coming out or imminently or is out from NIH that we were encouraged to consider by NCMRR. And Kirk Dabney, who is at AI DuPont Nemours, is going to take a leadership role on that. We had a discussion over the holidays. We've had a couple people from the network volunteer to participate. What we're doing as an initial step for surgical disparities is we are trying to find someone who's got like an MPH or a degree, is focused on clinical epidemiology in potentially CP, but definitely has disparities expertise. We reached out to Marshalyn Yergin, also of CDC. She could not participate for conflict reasons, but could certainly direct us to some people. So Kirk is very actively trying to find that person, which we view would be a key link to building a solid study team. So we'll keep you posted on this. We've got a lot to explore as to whether or not we could do this as an R21 or an R01. We think if we could do it as an R01, it could be this great sort of twofer at looking at surgical disparities by race and socioeconomic status, but also, incorporating, a broad cohort to compare against. So it could be just a very good broad comparative effectiveness study. So that's where we are with surgical disparities. Let me just stop and see if anybody has any questions about that. Okay, and then the second topic we discussed when Christy Bjornson reviewed her study concept, we got into a little bit of a side discussion about study capacity. And the net of the study capacity discussion is really that the executive committee chatted about it. I'm going to interrupt myself for a second and just say, who was that just joined from 7th?
Ed Hervitz.
Hello, Ed. So the executive committee had a discussion about it, and sort of our rough overview was it's kind of hard to set a number of how many sort of referral studies could be presented in clinic to patients. We basically said, presuming that we have good sort of cohort information that would sort of separate if we're presenting a study to a GMFCS 4 or 5 versus a GMFCS 2 or 3, or other patient attributes that might help us separate, that will always be good. And that in general, sort of the max of about 2 to 3 would be the most that we would ever want to have to put in front of people. So we're just basically trying to get a concept of, as we approve and advance these studies that are more referral-oriented as opposed to a clinical trial within the network, what's our capacity to sort of have these to present to people or to refer them to a potential study to participate in. And then also that we would, we'd be weighing that against competing with other sort of internal studies going on at any given center. So that was the net of that. If anybody has anything to sort of add or ask about that, we just want to let you know that we did discuss that and sort of set an upper bound that we'll pay attention to as we approve studies and studies get funded. Okay. Before I turn over to Garey, I just want to give people a brief demonstration of the investigator area that I talked about. I know a number of you have signed in. So my goal is to build out this aspect of CPRN as an additional resource. So if someone could confirm that you can now see my browser screen, just so I don't.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes,
so this is the CPRN homepage. And one of the things that we send a lot of people to, especially site candidates, is under Learn More. Here we have this CPRN resources page. And this is where we do this very transparent thing of for anything that is not sort of confidential or maybe too much the making of sausage, we have people have access to almost everything we do. And in particular, we have our investigator committee minutes and recordings here. So if I scroll down a bit, you can download the IRB protocol here. You can take a look at the data model for the registry. And almost every meeting is posted here. But if you look at, say, December 4th, where it says, meeting number 31 was confidential, and there are other examples of that, like down below. You can you could see other meetings, like when Rob Bolo presented the QI for ITB pumps. That had some pre-published information in it, and so we couldn't just put it out on the internet. So towards that end, that we have some things that are private, I created an investigator area. You've all been sent. Actually, this is true of all the investigators. I do think I'm going to want to add the coordinators to this if I haven't added you yet. But so you'll see up here in the upper right-hand corner, there's a sign-in link. And I'm just going to show you, I know a number of you have done this already, but you go here, and in email, I sent you your, it just uses, you can have the username that I generated for you, which is first initial, last name, or you can just use the email that you receive all your CPRN emails on. And you can just do this lost password thing. I had a problem with that not working at first. But so you log in, and it takes you to an investigator area. Oh, it didn't take me to the investigator area because I am the administrator, so pardon me 1 second. So you'll see there's this investigator area, and when you sign in, for most people other than me, it should take you right to this page, which is a private page on the site. And so I just want to point this out because this will continue to have more and more set of resources that are for sort of investigators only. So it's got the presentation that Christy, Heather, and Deb did on the joint decision-making concept. It's got the recordings of our 2 NIH meetings that we had. And then we're posting our CPRN exec committee meeting minutes there. I don't, for a variety of reasons, because those very often just discuss the core business of the network. I don't want to post those. I don't want to post those on the open site. And then for any of the study groups where we're really developing study ideas, and I consider it kind of confidential at this stage, that's where those meeting minutes and recordings go. And then you'll see on the right-hand side, I'm starting to post important files. Some of these duplicate what is on the public site, but there's going to be a set of things that we don't share on the public site. And you're going to see here EPIC-specific files, and that will only show to investigators that are from an EPIC site. That actually just disappears if you're not from an EPIC site. So after this recording is done of Garey doing this training, this will appear as a training video available to anybody that is from an EPIC site. So let me just ask if people have questions about the investigator area, and if not, we'll go on to Garey. And somebody's ringtone is very entertaining. Okay. Garey, I am going to hand control to you and let you take it away. So let me see if I can get this right. There's Garey.